Good afternoon, everyone. Much love. I hope you're all doing well. I've got a returning guest, Jason Quitt, who does such phenomenal work. He is fresh off of Coast to Coast last night with George Norrie. I don't know how he's alive this morning. I've done Coast twice, and that takes you to like 2, 3 in the morning. I don't know how he's functioning right now, to be honest with you, but he is. He's got some stuff he wants to premiere. He always tags me on Twitter with like the most interesting like pictures, and he's like, "What do you see here?" Or we talked about Da Vinci. I think we're going to go into that a little bit. The Last Supper. I've done a short video on it, but let's just bring him on, man. I'm not one for introductions. I just want to talk to people. Hey, brother.
Hello. And I was on the late hour. I got off with George at like 5 a.m. this morning.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so that's not as bad because you can kind of set your alarm early and go to bed early. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, well, congratulations on being on Coast. It's always fun to go on Coast. For people who don't know, it's very formulaic in a sense. They usually ask a bunch of questions, and then after 15 minutes, they go to commercial. And then you got your earbuds in, and you're listening to like music or it's not even really music. It's just basically like ads. And then they come back, they do another 15, and then they do that 2 more times. And then after the first hour, they go to a longer break. And then when they bring you back on, they do call-ins. I'm sure you had fielded a bunch of phone calls in the second hour, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
No, Coast is always fun. I think this is like the 7th or 8th time I've done it, but I haven't done it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I think the last time I did it was 4 years ago. So it's good to be back. And
Yes.
George is always a fun guy.
George is great. I'm a big fan of Richard Syrett. That's the guy who usually brings me on. I
Yes.
did his podcast first, and then he was like, "I love your stuff. I'm a Christian. I don't know if I agree with it, but I'll platform you." And I was like, "Sure." So I've been on his show a bunch of times, and I did Coast too. But so,
Yes.
I know you have a caffeine IV going into you right now. Let's get started. So
Yes.
between our last episode and now, you've reached out to me on, I think, a couple, maybe 2 or 3 separate occasions. The first one was regarding Da Vinci's The Last Supper, which I made a short video of where I explained to you guys the 4 zodiac signs transposed to the 4 apostles based on the settings. And then you just tagged me on something on Twitter. It looked like a vase from 5,000 years ago, and I couldn't even fit all the stuff I wanted to do because Twitter has a character limit. So where do we start today, Jason? This is your game.
Well, I like bothering you because, there's not too many people that speak this language. So
And it is a language.
Yes.
That's what Dane Rudyard says. He says astrology is a language. If you understand this language, the sky speaks to you, and it does.
Yes. So it's like I follow a bunch of archaeological accounts on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always seeing incredible artifacts pop up on my feed. And they follow an astrological code that I wrote about in Astrogenesis.
Right.
And so every time I see an artifact that follows this solar geometry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I save it or I repost it. And sometimes artifacts will pop up that are so unbelievable.
Right.
That I'm just like, I tag you and I say, "What do you see?"
Yeah,
because I know that the moment you see it, you're going to be like, "Holy crap! Like, this is nuts! Like, this is like 5,000-year-old astrology stuff, fully formed,
right?
And nobody has picked it up.
The astrology hasn't changed. Astrotheology and astrology hasn't changed since the Sumerians. Suffice for 2 minor changes during the Egyptian time period. And remember, the time period of Egypt was such a long time period that they had 2 separate solar deities. They had Horus and Amen-Ra. So during the Egyptian time period, Cancer, the crab, was actually the scarab, the dung beetle. Which is why St. Augustine in his works, I love when the Christians quote St. Augustine's work, because I'm like, wait till you guys figure out what he means but when he says Jesus is the good beetle, you know? And then the lion was actually the Sphinx. But aside from that, the 12 signs were always the 12 signs If you want to talk Ophiuchus, that's a whole different ballgame. But if we're just talking tropical, the 12 have stayed the same minus those 2 changes. It is the same code from the beginning of time.
Exactly. And when you have people studying these artifacts, they just basically tell you where they're found, you know, what is the motif, what does it look like, and they don't really get past that.
Right.
You know, and the work that I'm doing and the work that you're doing is taking these artifacts or these symbols, hieroglyphs, and saying there is so many more dimensions to this. And when you start getting into the dimensions of what these things are actually showing, it opens up this whole mindset of these ancient people, and they were geniuses. They were absolutely geniuses, and they had this science that was so advanced with the stars and the earth that, like, we're still catching up. And, you know, if you see me on Twitter, like, I'll post all these pictures with all these like geometric lines and say, can't you see it? And I think people get annoyed with me doing this because, like, if you just look at what I'm doing, it makes absolutely no sense. But when I start to
have a question for you before we actually start, because I've been very open with my cipher that I've discovered. I've made 2 videos on it. It is the 12 zodiac signs, and sometimes they use Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. I famously say in Revelation, there's a passage where they talk about how the snake will bite the horse's heel and the rider will fall off. Well, if you look at the way the zodiac is situated, Sagittarius is the man with the horse. And then right next to it, between Scorpio and Sagittarius, is Ophiuchus. Now, the snake is in a basket, and the guy's holding it, and the head is facing this way. So the snake's head is literally going to bite the horse's heel, and then the guy will fall off. So when I talk about that, they did use Ophiuchus a little bit, not too much, but I have a cipher that I come up with, and it's the 12 zodiac signs plus sometimes Ophiuchus and the 48 signs that Ptolemy defined in 150 AD, right? But I only use about 5 of those. You know, I have the cup, I have the chariot, I have the ship, and there's like 2 others, right? So basically, my cipher's out there. Anyone could do my work. You know, anyone could do it. I make it very simple for people. But for you, how do you even begin to figure these geometric lines?
Well, in the book, I actually put a step-by-step on how somebody can do this as well.
Okay.
So again, it's like the cipher is there. Anybody can take this work and do it. And when it comes to these artifacts, it has to do the main points in these artifacts has to do with the eyes and the hands. That's it. So it's like when you look at the artifact, you say, okay, I'm going to see if this geometry fits in alignment with the eyes and the hands. And when I put my overlay on it, and my overlay is very simple. It's just a 23.5 degree line and a 15 degree line. And those are the 2.
Now, isn't 23.5 degrees the degrees from the Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn? Or
yes.
Tropic of Capricorn. So, guys, Tropic of Cancer on the top, Cancer's at the top, then the equator, Tropic of Capricorn, Capricorn's at the bottom of the wheel. That's why they did that. So it's basically, that's the 23.5, right?
Yes. And you could say like Capricorn is winter solstice.
Right.
And then Cancer is summer solstice.
Right. This is what I usually tell people. So when I tell people that the land of milk and honey is from the beginning of summer to the beginning of winter, in the sign Cancer, there's a group of stars called the Beehive Cluster. That's where the honey comes from. And in Sagittarius, you have the Milky Way galaxy center, and that's where the milk comes from. And that I've traced back to the Egyptian Book of the Dead. That's your land of milk and honey.
And this is where everything opened up to me. And that's what the chapter in this book is all about. The Brazen Serpent chapter, I started to go into the Book of the Dead and the pyramid text of Unas. And it's like, it's literally astrology. It's talking about the gods are these stars. This god is that star. And you have to pass through this god to get to that god. So it's like when you're looking at with the lens of astrology, you're like, oh my God, this is a map.
Right.
And then that whole map then comes back to the human body. And then the body is the map of the stars.
Well, it's as above, so below. In fact, the Book of Enoch openly tells you who taught enchantments, who taught astrology, who taught the signs of the moon, who taught this. They openly tell you that. So yeah, wow.
So, so I teach people how to see this and how to do this, and almost every day I see a new cipher. And I did call you up and I said, go look at The Last Supper from Da Vinci.
Yes, you did.
And you said, I already did. I already did a show on it. I'm like, okay, of course you did. Of course you did. And
I'll give you screen share ability.
Yeah,
you're gonna share, but I have.
Yeah, I'll share.
Share. Let's start showing people some stuff.
Yeah,
it's always fun when you come on, man. It's always a thinker.
Hold on a second.
It's fine. This is Crystal Light iced tea, guys. I'm not a heathen.
Allow application below to record on any screen. There's so much security on these computers. Okay. Allow. All right. So
we're good.
So
we're good.
here's okay. So here we go. All right. So do you see The Last Supper on the screen?
It says Archaeo Histories, Bull's Head and Sheet Gold.
Okay, so I gotta fix that screen then. Let me see if I can get another one. Well, at least it's working. Now I know how to work it.
Good. That's step one.
Yes.
Step two is cut a hole in the box.
Where the heck? Oh, here we go. Got it. All right, so here we go. So here's The Last Supper. Now do you see that? All right. So,
yeah.
Very famous picture.
Can you zoom in a smidge?
Yes. I'll see if I could even get. Is that better?
There we go. We're good. We're good now. Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. So this is in 1498.
Oh, since we're talking about Da Vinci.
Yes.
Since we're talking about Da Vinci and we're talking about lines and angles and such, most people are kind of familiar with this already because they've already dissected the Mona Lisa like 1,000 times with it.
Well, I'm going to show something that people haven't done.
Okay.
So because I haven't seen this, and hopefully, well, you'll see what I'm going to show you.
Sure.
So if you draw a line around Jesus, it creates a 52-degree triangle from the base of the table to the top of his head. And you can see it goes up through his arms. There's so much symbology in here. We could probably spend all show on this, but I want you to pay attention. Look at his eye in the pyramid. Right. It's directly in the center.
Yeah, it's the all-seeing eye. Exactly.
So if we cut him out in the pyramid, you can see it's the Eye of Providence, Eye of Horus, eye at the top of the pyramid. And this is the sun. This is the solar symbology.
Right. I talk about the Eye of Horus as basically being the pineal gland and the corpus callosum when you do a sagittal cut of the human brain. That's too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And okay, so here we have 52 degrees. Now, if we draw a line from the table to the ceiling, and you can see the apostles, we can call this Apostle Mary, because we can get into that later. You can see that it creates a perfect 45-degree square.
Right.
And there's another apostle where the square cuts off his eye. Do you see how he has one eye in the corner of the right square?
That would be Scorpio, by the way.
Yes. So the eye of Scorpio is Antares. Okay. And so this is all done very, very specifically. From Jesus's eye, the whole perspective of this room goes directly into his eye, and it's at 26 degrees. So it's half of 52 degrees.
Right.
All right. And you can see the line from his eye goes to the left, which is where Aries starts, right?
Aries is all the way on the left, correct.
And you see how
guys who are keeping track, Aries is green. He's wearing the green. That's how you know it starts. You have spring, summer, fall, and winter. They're broken up into 4 sections of 3. It is spring all the way on the left because that was the first. Aries was the first, right? And Aries is when all the snow melts and all the green starts to grow and the lush comes back. That's why he's wearing green. But go on, sorry.
And you can see the first three apostles. They are looking directly into that eye.
Yes.
And they're all in that perfectly alignment with the eye. So they're looking into the sun. The rest are looking somewhere else or looking away. This is all symbology.
Yes.
Okay, from the corner of the table, you see how there's a line that slopes up the back of the fourth apostle?
Correct.
This slope is 23.5 degrees. And again, we were talking about 23.5 degrees is the tilt from Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn. On the other side...
Oh my God, I just noticed something. You know how we're talking about the Tropic of Cancer, right?
Yes.
Right? And
yes.
everything is at 23.5 degrees?
Yes.
Mary Magdalene is, if you look to the left, you'll see Leo pointing at her throat. He's pointing at the fact she doesn't have an Adam's apple that proves she's a woman. But next to him, the black one,
yes,
is Cancer. And
yes.
the ley line runs directly over his head.
That's correct.
Wow.
So again, see, me and you talk, we're filling in the blanks. This is the purpose of what Leonardo's trying to show here. And then on the right side, we have another apostle kind of leaned over, and he's at 26 degrees. But you can see from the end of the table, there's another line, and it goes directly into Jesus's eye. And this line is 15 degrees.
Okay.
Now, why is 15 degrees so important? That is the hour it takes. It takes 15 degrees for the sun to move in the sky 1 hour. All right. So it's showing you 15 degrees is the eye. It's the sun. It's the solar energy.
So that kind of makes sense. Let me just do the math on that real quick. If you take 15 degrees and you do, yeah, I was right. 15 degrees, 1 hour, times that by 24, you get your full circle.
Yes.
60.
That's correct. Okay. So, here's a zoom in of the shot, and you can see Jesus, he has one hand up and one hand down.
Right.
Showing you and he's looking in one direction, and behind him are 3 windows.
Before you get into that real quick, Mary is Virgo on the left.
Yes.
And then that's Virgo. And then you have Jesus the sun. And then what's after Virgo, guys? That's Libra. Look what Libra's doing. It's the scales. He's holding them out. He's showing you he's the scales. Go on.
Yes. So these windows are very important because it's a very ancient concept of solar symbolism. And it's actually goes back to Babylon, and all over the world is called Gate of the Gods. And this is where the sun shines through a door or a window during the solstices or the equinoxes.
It does that there. It does that in the Lascaux caves too, which if you've seen my presentation from 17,000 years up, from 17,000 years ago, the sun physically goes into the cave on the summer solstice and illuminates the back of the wall.
Exactly. Exactly. And, you can see this all over the world. And I don't want to get too much into this. I just wanted to kind of give the setup.
Right.
Okay. The reason I'm showing this is because Leonardo da Vinci knew about what we are discussing.
Right.
And it was at such a high level that this was hidden directly in his artwork. So when you're looking at the Last Supper, you're actually looking at the sun moving through the zodiac.
Absolutely.
And it's showing you, not just in the painting, it's showing you from the geometry of the painting, which is just so mind-blowing. So there's a whole other dimension to this that nobody has picked up on.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You know how Masons have the square and the compass they use to square their work and what they do?
Yes.
And there's other architectural tools that we have these days to make these way lines. But you're talking 700 years ago. We know, I always say this. I say it's not John Dominic Crossan. I say it's not that the ancients told literal stories we're now smart enough to figure them out symbolically. It's that they told them symbolically, and we are now dumb enough to take them literally.
Yes.
How, as a painter, and I know you're not, I don't think you're a painter, but like, I mean, to make that work, like, what would you have to overlay over paper to make sure that it does that? Like, that's insane.
Yes.
What they can do.
Basically, what he would do is he would figure out the mathematics or the geometry of the solar motif. Let's just call it the solar motif of, you know, the angles the sun takes during the year.
Yes.
Right. And it's the Last Supper. What is that? It's Easter.
Yeah.
You know, this is
always
right. So it's showing you the beginning of the year.
Well, actually, hold on a second. Technically, the Last Supper is the
Passover.
Passover.
Sorry.
It's the Passover. It's when the sun passes over the equator.
Yes.
When the Jewish people, the angel of death passes over the house, and they have to put the lamb, which is a baby ram, because they're the people of Aries, to make sure that they're known that they're the people of Aries, so that they're spared. The Christians have Easter, the resurrection of God's Son. It's all there.
Yes. Yeah. And so that picture is a symbolic allegory that carries the mathematical layout of what we're showing. So there's a whole other dimension here that people don't understand. So this is like the real Da Vinci Code. Right. This is like beyond, you know, anything. And so this is what I wanted to show you. And now what I want to show you is we're gonna go back from Da Vinci. So this is like a couple hundred years ago, right? Now we're gonna go back 4,000 to 5,000 years or even more. All right. 4,000 to 5,000 years of history. And I want to show you that Leonardo da Vinci was following a motif or a knowledge that is found all over the world, and it has not changed in I would say 12,000 years. Because
it's God created. It's what it is. I mean, guys, we can't even nowadays with architects, right? And their MBA and their masters and their PhDs in architecture, we can't even recreate the Gothic cathedrals that they made 600 years ago. We can't. It's just nuts. Okay, so let me know when you want me to share. I can't wait.
I'm going to go.
Is this something you tagged me in?
This is what I tagged you in. Okay. I just did this. I literally just put this together an hour before we started talking. So you're gonna have to work with me, and we're gonna fill in some blanks.
Yeah. This is a work in progress, guys.
Work in progress. Okay.
This says bull's head and sheets gold again.
Yes, this is what I want. So this is the thing I tagged you in.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll show you the next picture. So basically, this came up on my feed, Archeo Histories, bull's head, sheet in gold with lapis beard. So this is 2400 BC. So we're looking at almost 5,000 years ago.
Now, hold on a second. Where it says Ur, I think that's incorrect. I think it was called Uruk, to be honest with you.
Yes. There's, well, actually, it is Ur.
It is?
In Iraq. Mm-hmm. But there is a couple different variations of that name.
What you guys will not understand is that Abraham, the father of the Jewish religion, in this story comes from Ur.
See, isn't that amazing? Amazing. Yeah. All right. So basically, it says this artifact has great detail in the bull's eye, and it represents the power of the king as well as the god Shemesh. And we know Shemesh is a solar deity. It's a solar god.
Well, what is the Shemesh? In Hebrew, you have a holiday called Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
What is Hanukkah? Hanukkah is
the festival
one
of lights.
Candle in the front, and then you have 8 candles in the back. And you guys know the story of Hanukkah, right? Everyone that's listening. It's a story that they didn't have enough oil, you know, and they had just this little bit of oil, and it lasted 8 days. Well, when you sing your songs and you celebrate Hanukkah, you light a candle in the front, and then you take it out of the holder, and you light the rest with that one candle that you lighted first. The one that you lighted first is called the Shamash. It represents the sun. It brings light to everything.
Exactly. So this goes way back.
Right.
Way back, this concept. So here's the artifact. And you can see it's this golden bull's head with a beard. And this is where it comes from, the Royal Cemetery of Ur. And it's right here in Iraq. So you can see where Egypt is and where Turkey is. Göbekli Tepe is up here.
Yep.
So this whole area. So I just showed you, here's the coordinates of where this was found. So it's a 30.9 degrees north latitude. And this is where things get very, very interesting. Okay.
Sure.
So the golden bull, right?
This is the golden calf, guys.
This golden calf, like that's what you're looking at.
Right.
And you can see there's these 4 sections below it, which has these motifs. So let's just zoom in on this head right now. So you remember we were just talking about Da Vinci and showing the artwork of Da Vinci, correct? Yes. Okay, so check this out. You know what? I have this set up so nicely. I should just do it like this. So if we go through the horns and put a 23.5 degree angle, okay? That's all we're doing. It's just we're starting to lay this out.
Yes.
And already you can see that there's already starting something to form here just by putting this here. Okay? When we start adding to the points, it starts to build out this kind of 23.5 degree layout. And I know it doesn't look like much now. But once we start adding the 15 degree angles, you can start to see that the artifact itself is following a specific design. All right? And you can see some of these lines are going through the eyes. They cross in the eyes and the horns. All right, so let's just show you that here's the yearly path of the sun for 30.9 degree latitude in Iraq. So you get these lines. This is where the sun is in the sky during the solstice, equinox, and winter solstice. And you get these circles, which are ratios. So I call them the solar ratios, or the eye of the sun. So let me just lay out the eye of the sun on this artifact. And you can see that it's already following a design principle using solar ratios.
100%. Wow.
Okay, it just fits absolutely perfectly in these ratios.
Just out of curiosity, just for people to know, how big is this artifact?
It actually says, I can tell you in a second here.
And that's real gold, obviously, but like how?
Yes. So it's
40 centimeters.
40 centimeters, correct.
Okay.
By 25. So it's substantial.
Right.
It's not that big, but it's not that small.
Probably heavy as hell too.
Right. So let me get back to where we were with this. Okay, here we were. So now we have the layout and we put the solar ratios around it. So you can just kind of see that things line up and fit where things are supposed to fit. Now I'll put those images back in there so you can see where these lines cross. Now, remember, it goes through the eyes and the horns. Okay, so check this out. So this is the angle at 30.9 degrees. See these red lines? This is where the sun goes. And if we place it from the base of the artifact, you can see that it's based on this 30.9 degree line of the summer solstice. So the golden calf summer solstice, right?
Right.
So that's what it is.
Well, I mean, think about it, Jason. Yeah. What is the story of the golden calf with Moses? Either, and I tell this to the people who listen to me. I honestly don't know why people listen to me, but people do listen to me. The golden calf. So one of two things happened. Either the Jews, who were so broke and so poor that they had to run out of Egypt, even though there's no documented proof of that, which is what Anwar Sadat said to Menachem Begin during the Accords in 77. And he's right, because the Egyptians took meticulous records. But that aside, the Jews left. They were broke. They had nothing. So either they go and Moses goes up the mountain, and I can break that down. That takes 20 minutes. But basically, they pull their gold together because they brought their, I mean, when you're running out of your home, you definitely grab all your gold, right? That's the most important thing. And then they welded it together somehow, finding welding equipment in the middle of the desert. Or it's a metaphor for the sun being the gold and the calf being Taurus, the bull. They were worshiping the sun in the age of Egypt. Now, this is 2450 BC. That is the age of Taurus. Go figure.
Yes. Exactly. So, if I start using these lines and just kind of putting it there, you can start to see that the whole motif of the artifact itself starts to follow these lines. Like you can see where like the legs are at the top. It follows this this slope of the 23. And, you know, I can go up and you can see that it goes through the eyes.
Wow.
But I just put a bunch of stuff together just so you can see. So if you put, let's say, at the bottom where the Scorpion man is, the 23.5 degree and 15 degree line, you can see that these lines hit various things like the eyes of these beings. And as you move it around, it's hitting very important things. You can see it even follows the path of the lines that are in the motif itself. And again, you want to see it going through the eyes. Remember I said the code is about the eyes and the hands, because the eyes represent the sun. And, you know, and here's Taurus, but I want to show something else. I know I'm going really...
That's the sine wave. And in fact, you can, when you flat pack a map of Earth, right? You run the sine wave through it. This is what you guys are looking at right now. This is how it works.
Yes. So this is the age of Taurus, and, you know, showing you the summer solstice and the descent into winter and the constellations it moves through. Now, this is where I wanted to kind of go with you.
Yes.
Is because I put the zodiac here. It's obviously a newer zodiac, and there's motifs on the bottom here. And I just wanted to show people that you have, you know, obviously a Scorpion man. So we can say Scorpio. This could be an Oryx, which is an animal of the desert. And Oryx is the constellation, is it Arugula or Aruga? Sorry, it's in the constellation of Taurus. So that would be Scorpio and then Taurus.
Which are opposing signs.
Which are opposing signs, correct. And this is also... hold on a second here. And if we go through these 4 different layers on this thing, you start to see these different animals doing whatever they're doing.
Well, there's a calf right there, or the bull right there.
Yeah, you got the calf. This looks like some type of bear. I don't know. Like, I haven't deciphered this yet. I don't know what exactly this image is. But this is an astrological motif running up it. It's showing different, so you can see like this is like Leo or the lion holding
the
water
pitcher, which is Aquarius, and those are opposing signs.
That's correct. So we have this opposing sign right here,
right?
And this is interesting because it's showing like pieces of animals, and here's like a bull's leg.
Oh my god! I just realized something.
Go for it.
You just literally showed me Scorpio and Taurus. And here we have Aquarius and Leo. Those are the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
And
that's Revelation 4:7, people, the 4-headed animal. That's Ezekiel. And the tetramorph. It's all showing you there.
That's what I'm saying. This artifact that I tagged you in is like, it has it. It has the whole code in this one artifact.
Now you see why I couldn't reply to you in just a reply on Twitter?
Exactly. Exactly. And like we can, like if we go offline and work on this, we can like really decipher this real good.
Right.
And here we have, you don't really see it, but look, see the faces here? They're bearded, right? It's the bearded calf. It's the bearded bull that we saw above. It's the same one.
Is it the bearded bull?
Yes, it is.
I was thinking because of the hoofs, it might have been a goat.
No, it's a bull.
It is
and
a bull.
You can see the phallus there. It's a bull. And the reason I say it's a bull is I'm just going to show. Look at the beard.
Okay, gotcha.
See, it's the same exact beard here as it is here. So it's holding the and so what is this? Could it be Gemini?
The
Taurus?
Well, then you would have Taurus and Gemini. Those are connecting signs.
So it could be an equinox because it's equal. So again, there's lots to decipher in all of this, and it fits in the geometry. And this is from Iran, for example. You know, it's the same motif. It shows the man, whoever this man is, the solar god, holding two beasts. Okay, so it's the same
Go back
thing.
to that picture a second. Let me work something out in my head.
Okay, so this picture, holding two beasts.
So you have, those are what are those, scorpions? That must
be?
There's
scorpions beside
Scorpio.
it as well.
I'm thinking they might be leopards. It's possible.
Yes.
And leopard is Camelopardalis. Leopard doesn't have its own constellation. It's Camelopardalis, which means camel for Camelos, and leopard, Pardalis, Camelopardalis. And I tell people that back in the day, the ancient days, the giraffe was called Camelopardalis because they looked at this weird-looking thing, and they were like, that's a camel leopard. So that's why they called it that. Now, Scorpio is Scorpio, and Camelopardalis is in Gemini. Now, they're not opposing signs, but if you go to the firmament, if you go to the dividing lines between the signs, they do connect. So there's another pattern there, too, for sure. There's 3 patterns in this one thing that we just figured out.
Yes. And what I'm going to show you right now, okay, remember, I'm saying that, let me just get this. So you look at the eyes.
Oh, I got to add it. Hold on. It's always the eye.
Yeah. So the eye, like just in Leonardo's, this is 3000 BC. Okay. This is over 5,000 years old from Iran, showing the exact same thing. Look at his body with his skirt, 15 degrees from the eye. It's the sun. Okay.
It could also be the twins because Camelopardalis is in Gemini, but they're showing 2 of them right here. It could be the twins there too. It could be a double entendre.
That's right. So Gemini and Scorpio.
Wow.
Okay. So 5,000 years old in Iran. It is showing the exact same thing. All right. Okay. I'm going to keep blowing your mind. All right. Hold on a second.
This is so fun. Guys, we literally, he tagged me in a picture. He's like, what do you see? We talked for 2 minutes, and I was like, let's do an episode. We're figuring this out in real time. I promise you it's not scripted.
Not scripted. I told you, I just put these slides together like an hour before. All right.
Fantastic, man.
Hold on.
That's the problem with things like Coast to Coast. Not that it's not a great platform, but you really need the visuals. This is why I'm such a big fan of PowerPoints.
Yes. All right. So check this out.
Some people are visual learners. Okay, what do we have here? So that's Sagittarius easily.
Yeah, and it has the scorpion's tail, and look at the Leo behind him.
Okay, so we have the star. Okay, is that an eagle?
It's a falcon. It's a falcon, which is a solar symbol above, and you can see a sun in the headdress. But I just wanted to show you that this is a combination of Sagittarius, of Leo, and Scorpio, at least.
Scorpio and Sagittarius are connecting signs, guys. I'm trying to see what else there is. That would be so cool if that was an eagle, because that would also eagle is the ascendant of Scorpio.
Yes. And it definitely could be, because remember, each culture had their own thing, but it was virtually the same.
Right. So for you guys who don't understand what I mean by the ascendant, let me try and explain this to you guys real quick. You have a sun, a moon, and an ascendant sign. The ascendant is also known as the rising sign. When you break down natal charts and you get readings, most people know their sun sign, but you don't realize is that your personality and the one that most comes out is your ascendant. Now, Scorpio is the belly crawling creature. It crawls on its belly. It's considered the lowest form of life on earth. You find this out in the Bible because in the first story in Genesis, which is not the first book of the Bible, Job was actually the oldest book of the Bible, but when you're talking about Genesis, you get the story of Adam and Eve being deceived by the serpent, by the snake. Well, what does God do to the snake after the deception? He takes his legs away. He forces him to crawl on his belly. It's a punishment. The snake, the scorpion, because it crawls on its belly. In fact, a lot of Mexican churches during Santa de la Muerte, the men dress up in suits. They crawl on their bellies to church, on their hands and their belly to church. It's a humbling experience. However, because the scorpion crawls on its belly in its lowest form of life on earth, it evolves into the eagle. The eagle is the highest flying form of life on earth. And then once it's the eagle, it evolves again. So you have the scorpion, the eagle, and then the phoenix. It's the trinity. What is the story of the phoenix, guys? It's a flaming ball of life that dies and is reborn from its ashes. It's the hero's journey. It's the sun. It's the story of the sun. So now that I've shared that, please continue.
No, you covered it. There you go. So check this out. So this is also the Temple of Esna, same thing. So it's showing the double-headed Sagittarius with Leo, looking the two different directions with the scorpion's tail.
There are some hieroglyphs in the Temple of Esna that literally, it's like a block of it. I'm going to show it to you because I had Ike Rodriguez, who's a sidereal astrologer, on. He showed me some of the stuff from the Temple of Esna, and it literally goes from sign to sign to sign. They're carved right next to each other. Yeah,
I put it here as well. And this is my favorite one because not many people know this. But here you have...
is that Thoth on the left?
No.
Okay.
But it's so funny. Like the names of these beings, I know them off by heart. I just can't figure this one out right now. Anyways, you have this hippopotamus being, goddess, and she is the northern stars. Specifically, she is the Big Dipper. Okay. And you see the calf, the bull's calf is actually Boots. And see how she's holding Boots by the rope.
Yep.
This is a thing called the rope of heaven, because if you look at the last star in the Big Dipper, it is always pointed to Arcturus and Boots. So it's like it's bound. It's always holding Boots by the leg.
That's the northern star, guys, is Polaris. That hasn't changed. Our dog star, Sirius, our binary star, that has changed over time. There are writings where people used to describe, you see how it's blue now? It used to be red 2,000, 3,000 years ago. It's physically changed. But our northern star is always Polaris. And whenever you see pictures of baby Jesus, all your drawings of baby Jesus is a bright star, and that's always Polaris.
And they called this another bull of heaven, but this was also Set. So this evolved into basically chaining the devil by the leg and holding it in place, because if the chains would break, all hell would break loose.
Well, the beginning of the bull of heaven you could trace back to the Epic of Gilgamesh, where Gilgamesh wouldn't sleep with the lady goddess, and so she sends the bull of heaven with daddy's permission to kill Gilgamesh. And Set is Horus's enemy. That's why we have a sun Set, because he chases the sun into the underworld at night.
Yes. And so this is where we get also like the red devil. You can see the color of this. It's the red leg and the horns.
Right.
It all comes from somewhere. This one is really interesting because I wanted to talk this to you, because this is, they look at this and you say, okay, this is Scorpio, right? But doesn't it look like those are two fish making up Scorpio?
It does.
So you have like Pisces and Scorpio together in this image, which is very strange, in my opinion.
There's got to be a reason for that.
Yes, it's the two fish. So it's the Pisces and Scorpio. And maybe I'll just pull up to see this again. So we have Scorpio and Pisces.
So this is a fixed sign. Pisces is a mutable sign. I'm trying to make a connection with it right now.
Yeah. The only thing is they're both water signs. That's the only thing.
Right.
So this is February and this is October. Well, I don't know. We're just jamming here, but clearly that's what they're trying to represent here. And then you have Gemini.
Yep.
You have this Gemini, these two beings looking at each other. And it reminds me of what we're seeing here with the two bulls.
Guys, when we're talking about twins, how a twin is depicted back then. Look at these. Go back to the other one again real quick.
Sure. Where is it here?
Okay, hold on a sec.
Yeah, it comes in. It's just
okay, guys, get a good look at this. Now go to the other one. How they depicted twins back then was by mirror imaging it, because you can't obviously take a photograph and get the same picture where you could see the Doublemint twins from the commercial. We're showing our age now, Jason, but
yeah.
basically what they do is it's mirror imaged. That's what they do. That's how they show it.
Yes. So what I wanted to show you is something else, all right? Because now we're talking just purely symbols and astrology. Now I'm going to, again, add the code to something, and you're going to freak out, all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's another, like I said, I love following these sites, archaeology and art. Look how old this is. Almost 6,000 years. All right. Came from Nakata. All right, so here's this weird, look at this thing. It's like it has this weird head with these weird eyes, and it has these weird symbols on the body as well, right? But look, if you put the 23.5 degree angle on its face, it's like it's showing you that this is a solar image of the sun's path. So even at 6,000 years ago,
I want you guys to really take that in and understand the level of knowledge that they had back then with sacred geometry, mathematics, with carvings, just in general. Look at this thing that they probably picked up and dusted off. The archaeologists probably dusted it off, and then they just couldn't wait to get it into a museum, and then none of them looked at it any further. Understand that they understood these sacred mathematics, all the stuff that me and Jason are talking to you guys about, that other people talk about. Look at what they knew 6,000 years ago. And they're trying to tell you that we're the furthest along in our knowledge and everything.
Now, what's crazy about this, because I found this on artifacts all over the place, is look at the solar path on the bottom here. It's 25.9 degrees, Nakata, Egypt, right? Look at the slope of the body of this figurine. It's exactly 23.5 degrees sloped at 25.9 degrees north. This is showing you the location of where the artifact was made. So they literally encoded the GPS coordinates of where the sun is in the sky in the object itself.
You know what my theory is, Jason? I want to run this by you real quick.
Yes.
You're familiar with the energetic grid that is over the earth, right? The harmonic grid.
Yes.
How all the pyramids are built up, and not just the pyramids in Egypt, but if you go to like South America and then Egypt and then even like China, I forget where it is, that forms a pyramid. I think that we used to use, because how you find like everybody had a pine cone from Quetzalcoatl to the Vatican to everything, from one end to the other, everybody had the same information. I think we used to use that energetic grid to transmit information back and forth. I think we used to have that ability.
Very interesting. And I can't disagree with that at all. But I want you to look at this image again. You see the 15-degree line from the base going through the shoulders? They pass through these two suns, these two images of suns, right?
You know, if you fix right in the middle of it, if you turn that into a pentagram, it'll pass through the eye too.
There you go. And what I'm trying to show you, see how one is higher than the other?
Yes.
You think that's a mistake, right?
No, never.
It's not a mistake. If you look down at the chart at the bottom of the solar path, you can see that the summer solstice ratio is higher than the equinox. And if I took those two circles and I put them right on top of this, it will pass through both of them. So it's showing you that this image on the left, this solar disk on the left in 15 degrees is the summer solstice sun. And on the right, it's the equinox sun. It's literally showing you. It's ingenious. Is like, I don't know. And it's okay. So this is Egypt, right?
Right.
Well, hello. This is Peru. Peru. So across the entire, like, it's the other side of the planet.
Right.
All right. You have the two serpents. Okay. You have the solar deity. Look, you see his face. He has this T mark. Okay. He has weird ears. See the slant of his ears. See where his eyes are at the top of the T? Okay.
When you're talking about the two serpents, Jason,
yes,
you have Ophiuchus, right? He's the serpent bearer. That's the serpent. Do you know what the other serpent is?
There's a couple serpents. There's Draco.
Draco's the dragon.
The dragon. There's also
Hydra.
Hydra underneath.
Hydra goes. Hydra. It would form maybe if you were to connect Ophiuchus with Hydra for how big it is. I think it would form like 4 or 5 signs connecting out of the zodiac.
It goes from Cancer to under the paw of Leo.
Hydra.
It's huge.
Yeah. So it would. I'm sorry, I had it backwards. You're right. So that's where that is, and then you have. Wow. Okay.
Okay. So look at the T in his face, and then artifacts in building all across Central America have this kind of T carved out of the actual architecture.
Right.
Right. Because it's letting the sun in. These are solar T's. All right. Okay. So I don't want to get too confusing here, but it follows the exact same thing. All right. So you can see that all these marks go through the body. It's set up exactly the same way as what I've shown you 6,000 years ago on the other side of the planet. Exactly the same. I can get more detail. Look at the serpent's head. It's the 23.5 degree.
Well, would you agree that most of the things that you've shown, maybe they're not mirror images if you were to fold one half over the other, but it's aesthetically pleasing. You have something in the middle, and then you have things that are sort of equidistant on either side. Do you look for that pattern before you lay this over?
No. I just start. Well, here's the thing. I've been doing this so much this year that I just see it, because it's like if I'm looking at this image right from Peru, immediately I'm seeing 2 serpents. Right. I'm seeing the shape of their heads are this angle, and it's even showing you the nose. It has a line between it, and it's 23.5 degrees on one end, 23.5 degrees on the other.
I'd be very interested to find out the eyes of the serpents. What that material is? That blue. I'm not saying I'm sorry.
I don't. It might be some type of turquoise.
Or I think so. I'm wondering. Does it look like it fell out of the other 2 eyes?
Yeah, it looked like it fell out.
So they're probably all 4 were probably the same color.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And what's interesting as well is the earrings. So the lines pass through the ears and the earrings. The lines pass through the eyes. Like this image is so detailed that I tried.
An ankh on the left ear?
No, but the ankh follows the exact same pattern as this, geometrically. But if you look at the blue line, for example, you see this blue line coming up from the base of where the snake is?
Yes.
Look how it goes up through the center, and it's actually following the curve of the ears, through the shoulders and through the ears. Like the artisan that made this followed the 15 degrees and the 23 degrees perfectly in this artifact. Is 100% solar imagery. And, I try not to get too complicated with the lines, because you can kind of get a little nuts with this. And it gets very confusing. But all I'm trying to show is that once you use this code and you're just going through this layout, everything in this image fits within these lines.
This is remarkable. And this is gold too. So they had to weld this.
Yes.
So they had to weld in sacred,
sacred
mathematics.
I have no idea how they figured this out. It's so precise. It's so precise that I'm using Illustrator on my computer just to map this together. So that's what I wanted to kind of show you, is that,
wow, man.
It's like your work, all right, and the archetypes that you've put together in your system is a very ancient science.
Yes.
All right.
I would venture to say it's the oldest.
Yes. Now, I come along into the scene and I say, yes, what you're saying is absolutely correct. But now I want to add this other dimension to prove it. Okay, it's one thing to look at a symbol and say, I believe this symbol means this.
Right.
Right. But if someone's saying a symbol means something, and then I come along and I say, can you explain to me why the entire symbol is made in the degrees of 23.5 degrees and 15 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
They can't, because if they say, well, that means it's a solar motif, it's a solar thing, it changes their entire definition of what that is.
You know what's absolutely incredible?
What's that?
They did this by looking up.
Yeah.
Okay. We understand this. I still don't think I could figure this out if I looked up and tried to figure it out.
It goes back to the most ancient science and the most ancient mystical knowledge that we are the mirror of the universe. We are the cosmic measuring stick.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear I said this last time on your show, everybody, who's sat through a Passover Seder, they always talk about, they repeat it over and over again, with an outstretched arm. You remember that line?
Yeah.
With an outstretched arm, Moses did this, and with an outstretched arm, Moses did that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, outstretch your arm. Okay. Your eye to your hand from your outstretched arm is 15 degrees in the sky. You are the measuring tool. How do you think they navigated the desert?
Oh my God.
With their rod and their staff.
They measured the angle of the shadow.
They measured the sky.
Wow.
All right.
Dude, that's insane.
The rod is the cubit measuring stick, and the staff is like the Waz scepter from Egypt, with the ankh and the jet in it, which they can hold the staff out into the sky and the horizon. They could put the staff down and they can see where the sun is and see where they are.
Absolutely. This is so deep. I can't take it. I love every second of this.
Nice. See? No, I could tell you these things. So that's it, folks. That's all I got for today.
Well, that's all you got. Oh, well, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that's all you have, Jason.
It's not bad for putting something together an hour before, eh?
You know what I always say, Jason? Tell everyone what is your, I hate asking this question, but what is your background in?
You mean like my study and my background?
I guess like where you went to college, and not where you went to college.
Oh,
like what did you study?
Well, before my awakening into the consciousness world, I was into advertising and marketing. So I was a graphic designer. That's how I create the books.
Right.
I learned all that stuff.
I always tell people the same thing.
Yeah.
I say the people that change the world, the people that figure out the most amazing things, are never from academia, because there's a glass ceiling. You have peer review. It's expensive. It takes a long time. There's biases. They hide stuff. The people that figure real things out are the ones that are not beheld to it. These are the people that can go way beyond and reach the stars. The most interesting and well-rounded, educated people that figure things out are always self-taught. And that's what I tell everybody.
Thank you. And like I said, this is like a eureka moment, right? It's like I found it in one thing, and I'm like, can I find it elsewhere? And like I'm telling you, I have hundreds now. I have hundreds of artifacts from all over the world that literally follow this code, all the way to Da Vinci.
Now, let me ask you one more question to that. Yeah. Does any of this change if you're in the southern hemisphere?
No.
No, right?
No, because I decoded the...
Because my work changes if it goes into the southern hemisphere. It's mirror image. It's reversed.
Oh, it's... Remember, I'm not using, like... My main focus is the sun, right? And the tilt of the earth. So, for example, I did the door in Peru, the gate of the god of Peru.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's about 6 degrees latitude south. So it's on the other side of the equator.
Mm-hmm.
And the eye of the sun is so different. Here, I'll show it to you. Oh, let me see if I can find it. Let me just get it on screen first, because it's hidden. It's hidden somewhere. All right, here we go. I will share this now.
Come on, come to daddy. Let's do this. Come on. waiting for it to pop up so I can put it up.
Okay, so here we go.
We go. We're good. Okay.
Okay, so check this out, right? So this is south of the equator. And everybody's like, you know, what is this door? Check it out. It's a T-shaped door. T-shaped door.
It's in Hebrew, it's a yud.
It's a yud, which is the hand of God.
Right.
Right. So so look at this. There's like a hole right in the center of this thing. You see that hole?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, right? You see these like lines cut into the rock face? See how weird these lines are?
Yes.
I'm just kind of being facetious here, but anyways.
No, I know you are.
So check this out. So here it is. And you see these lines, these weird lines cutting across this face. Everybody's like, they're natural, right? Check that out. 23.5 degrees, right? 15 degrees. See, that's cutting the door already. All the angles of the door, it's cutting it.
And I'm sure it was a lot more prominent. This is how many years old, probably?
Nobody knows. It's got to be 1,000 or more.
Right.
So here,
this is just what's left, and it still clearly makes that pattern.
Yes.
Can you imagine what it looked like when it was first done?
So here's what we went through, the path of the sun. So, it's 16.1 degrees south latitude. So look at the eye of the sun, how different it is. It's a very opened eye, right?
Yes.
Big pupil. So if you go back here, 16.1 degrees, you see the angle of this. Look at the door. It's tilted at 16.1 degrees. Wow. And if we put the solar ratio, the eye, look at how the winter solstice circle actually touches the door. See how it cuts it? This is not by mistake. This is like meticulously measured and done. You know, and if we take the solar angles and we put them in there, it shows you that it fits. The solar ratios fit within the actual door. And you see where this little circle is, that little cutout, it all goes to that little circle. So my whole thing is, or my understanding is, there's one day of the year, one day of the solar year, where the sun will not cast a shadow in that doorway. And that's when the gate of God opens, because the sun passes through the door, signaling the very specific day of the year. And I looked at the site over and over again, and it's east facing. It's tilted to about 6 degrees, I think. So the sun should illuminate that doorway on the equinox. There shouldn't be a shadow there.
Right.
So again, it's the exact same thing, the gate of the gods that we're talking about in Samaria. It's the same thing. It's the false doors you find in Egypt. It's the same thing, using the same code, the same geometry. So how are these civilizations not connected to a common heritage?
Have to be. And I'm telling you, I think it's the energetic grid. I think either they had all access to the Akashic record, either they did that, either they understood that, which I think they did, the mind of God, or they used the energetic grid and they just transmitted information. I mean, modern science we think is nothing more than magic. This is insane. You know, how do you have a megalith and then it's carved in a certain way that one day out of the year something weird happens? That's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane. And that's everywhere. We could do a whole episode just on all that. Stonehenge and Manhattanhenge and all this stuff.
Yeah. So they figured out the heavens and how it relates to the earth. They figured out the reflection. And it was such a high science that the elders or the wisdom keepers, the priests, pharaohs, whoever they were, that knowledge was so advanced that it couldn't be passed to the people because the people wouldn't be able to grasp it.
Right.
So it was so out of the element of human knowledge or mainstream public knowledge that to keep the information alive, they would encode it in artifacts, in temples, and then they would initiate people into understanding how this works and how to duplicate this.
Absolutely. I mean, who was the wisest man that ever lived? Did they tell you in the Bible?
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Solomon.
Okay, which is the sun.
Sol, Latin. Yeah. Om. In the Upanishads, Om is the syllable of sun. And On, which is the city of light in Greece. So when you go into a bedroom, you got to turn the lights on to become enlightened still. Sol, Om, On. It's 3 names. Trinity of the sun. The most wise person. They encode this stuff. And people like me and you are sharing it, and we're finding people that are getting it. And it's the most rewarding thing ever.
Yeah. And again, it's like just by sharing this online, people will pick up on it and go, holy shit, you know?
Yeah.
We're moving the ball forward, which is amazing because, you know,
well,
I grew
up. To be
honest
with you, I think what we're doing is we're playing catch up because they've been dumbing us down for a long time. So we're trying to retrace footsteps and try and share with people.
Yes, we are rediscovering these things, and that is, it's so rewarding to find this out and prove it. It's not like this is my theory, this is my hypothesis, and I go, no, look, this is what they're saying to you.
Right.
You know, this is not my opinion. This is literally what they're writing and showing you at another dimension.
Your work is inarguable. You can't. That's what I love about our work is no one challenges it because you can't. Jason, do me a favor, man. This was absolutely. I gotta go decompress after this episode. Do me a favor. Hold your book up to the camera.
Yes.
Okay. This is your latest.
This is the latest, Astral Genesis. This is where the code that we've been talking about today is. So this
is doing quite well. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. And then this is the Egyptian Postures of Power, and this was the influence that got me to this.
Yeah. Guys, pick up a copy of that. This stuff it's just as mind-blowing as the kind of stuff I talk about, to be honest with you. Look, just watch this episode. I mean, a lot of people message me all the time, and they're like, I had to rewind it 40 times. I'm like, good. Is it sticking? Are you picking it up? Are you picking this up? Jason, man, thank you for coming here. Tell everyone where to find you, and please continue to tag me and stuff.
Of course, of course. You could find me. My website is thecrystalsun.com. You could find my books on Amazon just by typing in my name. And I don't really have social media right now, except for Twitter, and it's Jason_Quitt.
Jason, man, thank you. I'm going to have this up right away, and I'll send you the link.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
Peace.